What is up, beautiful people? Logan here with Presently and Permanent, and in this video we're going to be talking about the sacral chakra. This is chakra number 2 of the 7 chakral Hindu system. So if you didn't catch the first video, go back. It's the root chakra. If you're here just for the sacral, welcome. Today we are talking about the color orange. Okay, so in Hindi, the word is svadhisthana, right? And so you don't need to memorize this, but it's essentially the dwelling place of self. And when you look at the significance of the sacral chakra, it's really related to like sweetness. And when we talk about sweetness, think of like a peach. It's very juicy. And this is really where sensuality and sexuality comes from. The location is between the genitals and the navel. Usually it's about 2 inches below the navel. But if you want to feel this right now, just go ahead, and if you're sitting down, or if you know yoga and you know how to do the cat-cow, it's essentially just arching your back to where you're pushing your spine forward, right? And you're arching your back as much as possible, and then you can also do a tilt forward where you're pushing your spine back, and you will feel the sacrum. But this is really this is a harder chakra for some people to feel. It really is the divine feminine. So for a lot of women, it's easier for them to feel into compared to men. If you've ever met anyone who's really good at dance, their sacral chakra, they usually don't have any problems. They are able to flow with their hips. A lot of men have a lot of hip issues. And anyone who's dealing with like sexuality issues, this is really one of the first places to look. So color is orange. Again, if you want to discover or work on this, if you feel this is an area in your life you want to work on, or if you're already pretty tapped in and you want to be able to move through all the chakras to see where your body's at, you can visualize the color orange when you're focused on that area. Unlike the root chakra you can kind of squeeze in order to feel, to get yourself started. But with the sacral chakra, what I usually do, it's a slightly different movement where you're almost just kind of tightening. I don't even know how to explain it. You're just tightening your lower abdomen a little bit in that area right here. It's almost like you're bearing down on your bladder, and that will allow you to feel where the area is. And then when you close your eyes and you kind of sit into that, you could even activate your root and then try and move up and visualize orange. You'll feel it. It might take you a little bit. Again, if you're just getting into chakras, you might not feel anything upon your first practices if you sit down and try and visualize the colors or the feeling. That's okay. It takes a while to reactivate these energy centers. They're always working, but a lot of times people don't even know that there's energy centers in their body, and then they become blocked over time. And then we have to learn about this stuff again. So the element associated with the sacral chakra is water. Very good if you're a person who has sacral hip issues or has tough time with sexuality and kind of the flow of life. If you think about sexuality, it really is a dance. Being around water is really important. The sound that you can make in your practice, VAM, just V-A-M. You don't need to do it a certain way, just practice with it. VAM, with the intention of orange. You could even visualize water if you want, orange water flowing down in this region. The animal is the crocodile. Really interesting because the crocodile is very hard to see. When I went to the Pantanal in Brazil, they have caiman there. And when you're driving by in a boat, you almost hit these things because you can't even see them. They're very good at hiding. But ultimately, the crocodile represents unseen desires that lie underneath the water. And so a lot of people with overactive or underactive, mostly underactive sacral chakra, they have desires that they're not aware of. They're lying underneath deep in the subconscious. And a lot of times problems are coming into their life because they are not able to bring those desires to the surface. And oftentimes a lot of people don't want to bring their desires to the surface because it's scary and they'll have to actually do something if they become aware of it. And so ultimately, if you want to transcend where you're at now and get to a next level, and you feel your sacral chakra is a place to start, it's really important to start understanding feelings. When you can start understanding your feelings, you can not necessarily get a direct portal to the unconscious mind, because it's very tricky to get into the unconscious mind without the help from specific practices. But when you understand your feelings more, when unconscious programs are going on in your mind, sleep would be an example. When you wake up in the morning, all the unconscious stuff that was going on, you can see how you feel about it. And when you know how you feel about it, you're going to be able to understand it more. And so really, sacral chakra has to do with how you express your feelings onto the world. A lot of people who are not tapped in to this flow, if you think of salsa, any Latin dance, they are so in their hips, their sacrum is moving all the time. Anyone who's not in this flow of life has trouble expressing their feelings and not even really understanding what feelings are. There's so many different feelings that we have, and a lot of people don't even understand how it feels in their body to feel anger or sadness or anything like that. So understanding what feelings are and how they feel in your body is super important for you to be able to tap into releasing the things that no longer serve you. Really interesting. So not understanding your feelings can lead to repressed feelings. So when you have an event happen, maybe your dad yelled at you when you were younger, and you don't know how to emotionally process it, you will suppress it and then repress it, and it'll just stay down. And ultimately, what will happen is when you go into the world, maybe you meet a man, if you're a woman, you meet a man who you don't you don't like how they behave. It reminds you of your dad. Well, you're actually attracting those who display the feelings that you repressed. So deep emotional feelings of something you don't like and something that you're trying to avoid gets stuck down there in some organ or some body part. And then now in the world, you'll start to attract those people. And actually the good thing about this, despite abusive relationships and all of these things, you will continue to attract the thing you don't like until you learn how to get it out of your body. So if you have a negative emotion and you keep showing up, and the world is such a bad place, and all the girls you date end up acting this way, it's actually because you have something repressed in your body, some feeling of something that you don't like and you don't desire. Because you don't desire it, you're actually attracting it more because you're so focused on it. But you don't know because it's unconscious, right? And this is where sickness and disease can really come from. I mean, if any of these chakras are off, you're going to have issues, but sickness and disease really comes from repressed feelings and emotions. And the more I've been working on my body and doing body work on other people, I've realized how much the body actually stores and how much crap we have in there. And if we don't start understanding our feelings, we cannot get rid of the feelings that have been stuck. And so we have to not only get rid of the feelings that have been stuck, but we also have to stop allowing ourselves to trap feelings that we don't like anymore. Because if we don't know how to emotionally take in a feeling, oh, I'm feeling angry right now, let me sit with this, let it pass through my body, it's just going to get stuck, and then you're going to have more issues, and then you're going to become an angry person. The other thing here is, this is really interesting because this is a very spiritual concept. You're going to have low sympathy to others because of disregard to the spirituality of your feelings. So there is a deep connection to feelings and in spirituality. The more you can feel, the closer you're going to come to God. It's very hard. It's been hard for me because when I was numb to the world and when I was sick and stuff, I didn't believe in God at all. The more I can feel, the more I believe in God. It's quite interesting. God lives through me now. And I'm not saying you have to believe in God or you have to become spiritual. The more you feel, the more likely you're going to feel a deeper connection to something bigger. So, as always, if we want to improve this, foods are always something that can open the gateway to healing chakras, improving them, strengthening them. Usually you want to eat the color of the food as it matches the chakra, right? So orange foods like carrots are a very good example. The more orange food you can have, if you're imbalanced, the more it can help you out. Hip opening, so the cat-cow pose in yoga is really, really good. There's also a lot of pretzel stuff you can do. I don't know if you can see me on camera, but essentially you can take this leg underneath, this leg over top. You sit in this position, pull this back, right? So my hips are stacked, my knees are kind of stacked on top of each other. This hip is getting opened a lot right now. So hip openers, there's tons of different stuff on YouTube you could find for that. Doing squats where you can squat completely down without your ankle, without your heel popping up. Trying to just sit in the squat. Asian culture is really good at this. They usually squat when they're eating. They squat when they're going poo. Western culture doesn't squat at all. It's really bad for the hips. Your hips store so much emotion. So if you can open your hips more, your sacral chakra and your sacrum and everything in that area will open more, and it will actually allow you to take in emotions better. Journaling your feelings, really important. I recommend everyone go and type in feelings wheel or emotions wheel. You'll get a big circle that will have a bunch of different emotions. There's a bunch of different kinds from researchers, but the important thing is it'll go into like 6 main emotions: anger, sadness, joy, stuff like that. And then it'll give you words to describe different levels of that emotion. And what I want you to do with that feelings wheel, I want you to look at it. And I want you to try, like, read sad. And then I want you to try in your body to feel sad. And then I want you to go to the next emotion, and just sit and try and feel it. If you cannot feel it at all, if you're sitting there for 5 minutes and you can't feel anger, it's likely that might be blocked. So, really important. And then journaling your feelings. In the morning when you wake up, after like right when you wake up, if you've had some dreams, you can journal about your dreams and journal about what you felt in each moment. So like if you saw something scary, you're walking in the forest and a snake comes out and starts trying to attack you, try and think about the feeling you had in the dream. And when I can feel it right now, when you start describing it, you go back into the dream and you'll actually feel it. And so when you can feel it while you're describing it, you start to build a relationship with your emotions again. And you start to understand it. And then when something happens in the real world, you can go, oh, I'm scared. And then you can actually start expressing that to people. And you become a better communicator because you can tell people how you actually feel and you can have stronger boundaries. How's your sex life? If your sex life is overactive, potentially something to look at here. A lot of people who have overactive sexual lives are sometimes either hiding a desire or not actually fulfilling the desire they actually want. And so they're using sexuality as a way to avoid doing something that they actually are meant to do. It can be very tricky for certain people because sex feels great, right? But if you're getting trapped in the loop of having to go and have sex with a bunch of people all the time for validation, it's something you're going to want to look into. And then if you're not having any sex at all, you don't have any sex drive. This is an invitation to start doing something like dancing, even if it's just around your house, but getting your hips to move more, like doing more movements where you're just moving your hips. It's going to feel so foreign and it'll probably hurt a little bit, but even a yoga class will help. Be consistent with it. Don't just go once a week. Once a month. The reason I say that is because I've done yoga many times, and when I first started my journey, I would go maybe once a month. I tell everyone I'm going to be going all the time. I'd go maybe once a month because it was painful for me, and the thing was, it was just I didn't have a connection with my body, and so it was more painful. And none of this stuff has to be painful. It's supposed to be fun. And the more that you start to learn about this stuff and go and put it into practice, the more fun it becomes. So don't let that deter you. And then finally, like really understanding your vision and your desire. Like sit down on a weekend, go to a coffee shop, and just ask yourself, like, what do I actually want my career to look like in the next 3 years? What do I want my life to look like? What environment do I want to be in? Do I want to have a house? Do I want to have an apartment? Do I want to be traveling? Do I want to have kids? Do I want to have a girlfriend? Do I want to have a dog? Like try and start imagining. You don't need to box yourself in, but start imagining the things that you actually want to create in your life. This is all about creation. This is sexuality. Is when you have sex, if you're a man, you are creating something with a woman. So if anything is going on in your sex life, or you don't really have desire to go out and do things that you really want to do, it's an invitation to work on this. So that is all for today. Tomorrow we will be working on the solar plexus, so stay tuned for that. If you're interested in working with me in a coaching capacity, or going down the path of a really amazing tool that I use to understand myself and I use with my clients, is a personality test called Logos. It's the most comprehensive personality test I've ever seen. I've done like 15 plus personality tests. This one is the one, and this is why I'm partnered with the company. So if you're interested in any of that, click the links below, and I will see you tomorrow. Late.